Have you ever wondered how to process your vocals in Logic Pro X? Then let me show you today how you can do that. So this is how the vocals sound like when they're not processed.
Feeling alright, but there's nothing to say. Lost all the words that I've been wanting to share.
You can immediately hear that they're very low pass and sound very muffled. Now this is a recording problem, so we should actually now contact the vocalist and be like, hey, can you like retake these vocals because they are too muffled. Now in this case, I still want to show you how you can make these vocals sound pretty good. So the first thing we want to do here is add some equalization. So reduce some of the low end.
Feeling alright, but there's nothing to say.
And boosting some of the highs. Now this will be most likely how 8 out of 10 vocals you will be processing will look like. Maybe not as extreme because hopefully your vocalist has recorded their vocals in a better way. So you want to high pass it.
Feeling alright, but there's nothing to say.
And reduce some of the low mids. Now once you have this done, and you should do this by the way in stereo. Next up, you want to double click this audio file and you want to come down here to this flex icon. And next to it, it will probably be not set to flex pitch yet, but you have to select flex pitch. Now it will analyze the vocal, and when you scroll down, you'll start to see these blue bars. Now, what can you do with these blue bars? Well, now you can correct the vocals. So you have always 6 options for each bar you see here. So the first option is to change the pitch drift. So this is the pitch drift at the beginning of the vocal. If the pitch drift, if it should go from up and down or from down to up, you have the full control here. The second option is fine pitching the vocal. So pitching it, up and down in between each note. The third option is pitch drift. So doing the same, which we could do at the beginning of the note, at the end of this note. Now, the fourth option is gain. So increasing or decreasing the volume here, which is also super important. The fifth option is vibrato. So increasing or decreasing the vibrato. For example, here, we could maybe decrease it a bit. And the sixth option is format shifting it. Now, this is an option I basically never use, but the first 5 options are very, very important. Now, the first thing we want to do just to make this vocal processing as efficient as possible is time correction. So let's have a listen, activate the metronome.
Feeling alright, but there's nothing to say. Lost all the words.
And then when we find a section that is not in the right timing, we can simply drag this blue note or drag the note wherever your vocals are and move it around so we can adjust the timing very well.
That I've been wanting to share.
For example, like that. Now, something else we can do is, after we corrected the timing, we should correct the pitch.
The words that.
For example, this sounds as if it would be very well in pitch, and it is in pitch, but there are always subtle indicators of how we can still improve the pitch. You see how this blue note is like fully aligned, or this blue note is like fully on this note, and these ones aren't. Well, this is an indicator that the pitch is a little bit off, maybe not audibly off, but let's see what happens if I move this a bit down. Now this note is fully in pitch.
So the words that I've been.
And now we can decrease the vibrato and maybe even pitch it up a little bit.
So the words that I've.
Because a good rule of thumb is if you see this white line in between this note, if it's in the middle, then it's in perfect pitch. If it's a bit further up, like here, then it's already further towards the pitch of this note. But if this line is nicely in the middle, then the pitch is perfectly in tune. So
the words that I've been wanting to share.
Now, for example, here.
Wanting to share.
And the most important part is always just to feel the track and to see what makes sense for this current track. It doesn't have to always be perfectly in pitch if that's what you want to achieve, but I always recommend you do this for every single note always have the BPM, the metronome on. Those are the first two steps. Now the third step, what you want to do is edit the gain. Now you can do the gain here on all of those individual notes. Sometimes what I don't like about this function is that sometimes Logic doesn't pick up on every single part. For example, I can increase the gain here and I can increase the gain on this note, but it's hard for me to control the gain before this main section here individually. So what I like to do is I like to leave this flex pitch setting if I want to now edit the gain. And then I simply chop up the vocals manually. And I do it very roughly, so I don't really overthink this process. So let me go back to how the gain was. There we go. And now what I like to do is I like to chop up the gain manually. So I like to increase the size here a bit, zoom a bit out. Now I have all the wave shape forms nice in front of me. So now I know, okay, I can do a cut here. I can do a cut here, a cut here, cut here. And basically I'm always trying to now isolate the sections that have a smaller waveform compared to these sections. And by simply cutting these up in simple chunks, what this allows me to do, I can now take those chunks, press Shift on my keyboard, select all of these, go here to region, and now just simply increase the gain a bit. And ta-da, I have matching waveforms in a couple of seconds without doing it manually. So much faster and so much simpler. Now you have to go down here again and select all of these and add small fades, very small fades here. And there you have it, perfectly gained vocals. Now you have to listen again and see if you have to manually correct a few things, but usually they should sound fine now. So after you improve the pitch and the gain, something you can do now is you can add some subtle compression. Now I love to use vintage opto compression from Logic here. I already set the right settings, but you can feel free to use any compressor you like. And I like to use like very subtle compression, nothing too crazy.
Feeling alright, but there is nothing to say. Alright, but there is nothing to say. Lost all the words that I've been wanting to share. Feeling alright, but now I'm lonely again.
And next up, you can also use some de-esser. I like to use the de-esser here from Nectar, just because it's
Alright, but there is nothing to say.
I think it's a bit more accurate than the one from Logic, but you can also use the de-esser from Logic. Then I like to add some chroma verb. I love to high pass it here. So chroma verb has this output EQ option. I like to high pass it. The Abbey Road's reverb trick is that you high pass it around 1000 Hertz, but I like to keep it a little bit below that, so I still catch some of the low mids and can reverberate those as well. And I love to low pass my reverb a bit, so it's not too crisp in the high end. I made it a bit mono, around 200 Hertz, and increased the width slightly. And yeah, just copy these settings. And I also like to have my pre-delay around like 30 milliseconds. This is like for medium halls, everything for like a huge vocal with a huge vocal tail. You want to keep it above like 20 ms, and everything for shorter vocals, everything 0 to 10. So 13 is kind of a sweet spot here.
Feeling alright, but there is nothing to say.
So after we did all of that, we can also add more dimension to the vocal. So something how we can do that is by simply using some sample delay. So let me switch here to my edited vocal. I edited before this video. So sample delay, it delays the left sample a little bit from the right sample, and through that it creates the illusion of like space. So let me show you how it sounds without.
But there is nothing to say.
And now with.
But there is nothing to say.
And like what you can hear is that it's becoming extremely wide suddenly. And this is a technique you have to use with a lot of caution because it causes a lot of width. Something you can do alternatively is you can go add another channel EQ, but this time you select the side only here under processing, and you boost the high end a bit.
But there is nothing to say. But there is nothing to say. Lost all the words that I've been wanting to share.
And now you get a lot wider high end, or the illusion of a wider high end, without even changing or delaying the sample of the actual audio file. So that's another trick I can show you. Yeah, those are some simple tricks of how you can make really interesting vocals in Logic Pro, how you can process them. Another trick would also be to add a delay on top of these. But yeah, just for basic processing, this should get your vocals sounding at least 90% better. So yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Have a beautiful day. Make sure to check out maxbüchermusic.com for one-to-one lessons or free resources. And yeah, have a great day. Take care, and I talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.